Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Back to the grind. Starts today. Hope you're having a good morning so far. I got 8:28. Sorry, 8:33 a.m. Beast Coast time. Hey, Janet, Chris, Casey, what's up? So, just weigh in on this constantly changing situation in Los Angeles. I think that ultimately this is going to let me just take it apart in two different ways. This is going to be a win for the administration because I think the president's going to be able to do something he might not have had the I don't want to say not had the capacity, but I think he's got a little more reassurance now with Homeland Security, with the Department of Justice, with the Department of Defense regarding backing him up. If this had happened, well, you saw bits and pieces of it, right? During the summer of 2020, the riots in particular in the Pacific Northwest and some other blue cities throughout the country, you saw that forget the governors, forget the Democrat governors. I never expected anything out of them. It just seemed like that the DOJ under Bill Barr did not have his back. They were basically trying to make him institute martial law, etc. Possibly the suspension of habeas corpus. So there was just a lot of factors working against him on top of the pandemic that was going on, the impeachments, etc. It was almost a no-win situation for our favorite president, right? Close, I would say, as close to a no-win situation as he experienced his first 4 years. So we're looking to change all that with this course of action here. All right. So what exactly do I mean by that? The rapid response of ICE, the rapid response of the California National Guard, evidently the Marine Corps from Camp Pendleton in San Diego I think they're there. That's not a long drive by any stretch of the imagination, San Diego to Los Angeles. So you've got all this momentum, I'll say. Also, the FBI. This is what you might be disappointed in Cash Patel or Pam Bondi right now. I don't think Hegseth is on that list, but think, contrast that, guys, to Christopher Wray, Bill Barr, um, it's Mark Esper. I think some useless nobody was the head of the Department of Defense in the summer of 2020. I mean, just contrast that to what we're going through now, and it's night and day. At minimum, if you're worried about how this is going to shake out, uh, at least the administration and all the vital agencies are on the same page. Okay, there's something to be said for that. You're not seeing a divergent message from Cash Patel or Pam Bondi or Tom Homan or Christy Nome or Pete Hegseth in this regard. You're seeing unity. All right, that should give you a lot of you should not be doom pilled on that situation, other than unfortunately the rioting, the looting, the violence. Somebody's going to die, guys. It's just a matter of when. Sadly, it's just a matter of when. It's unpreventable. You can't have this sort of anarchy and chaos, guys, and not have consequences. I think we're all aware of that, but sadly, I hope it doesn't happen. But the media will do their thing, and they'll run with the story, and they'll make it look like it's Trump's fault. I mean, you've got a very useless mayor and Karen Bass, who's no accountability. Gavin Newsom, no accountability. And here we are. You know, I'm not going to put salt in the wound. Like a lot of people, California's getting what they voted for. Uh, Even if they did, this is unacceptable, guys. A Democrat governor of a very powerful state with a lot of resources and a huge economy and a huge National Guard and a huge police force and a huge riot team and SWAT team. He's got a lot at his disposal, Gavin Newsom, that is. He shouldn't need to be a MAGA Republican to get the job done. He's not keeping his community safe. It has nothing to do with TDS. It should have nothing to do with the I don't expect him to get on board with ICE and the deportations, but when it's looking like Venezuela did 5 or 6 years ago, forget actually, let me retract that. When it's looking like Los Angeles did 5 years ago, or maybe Seattle, or maybe Portland, Oregon, etc., possibly New York as well. Most of this was going on in the northwestern part of the United States, very, very Democrat areas, Seattle and the greater Seattle area, and of course Oregon. So that was obvious that was going to happen. But it is amazing to me, though, how it took the police commissioner this long to realize that he was being overwhelmed. And they're still not cooperating with ICE. That's the other thing. That's a pattern, guys. That's not going to get better. Let me just sidestep for a moment here as I'm breaking this down. The Boston cops don't comply with ICE. The Philly cops won't comply with ICE. San Francisco cops won't. Any Democrat-run city, which is essentially all of them, Chicago, they're all the same, with the exception actually in New York, believe it or not, with Eric Adams out there fighting for his political life. Um, but I mean, you're not going to get cooperation from the local authorities uh, because you have corrupt Democrat mayors with corrupt police commissioners. Please don't assume as we go forward, as much as I back the blue, these police chiefs in these huge metropolitan urban cities like Los Angeles, okay? They're politicians at their core. They have a badge, but it's politics, guys. They're a little bit divorced from the concept of a street cop or a homicide detective. I don't know if public safety is at the top of their list. If you think that's slanderous, look at their actions, or I should say, look at their inactions. And what's this guy's name? Jim McDonnell. I mean, he sat on his hands. I know he had orders or whatever not to comply with it. He let that situation get out of hand. This is the playbook of these Democrat-run cities. So while this is a big speed bump in LA, you're going to be having the same conversation about various other cities in the United States throughout Trump's presidency. Non-compliance uh, from the upper echelon of the police departments, the larger ones. It's not like recently departed Bernie Carrick in New York during 9/11. You're not going to see that sort of working in tandem with the federal government in a disaster situation. You just won't see that in a Democrat city. Doesn't happen nationwide. The Democrats have spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and 40 years into turning Los Angeles, more than 40, maybe 50 years since Reagan left. What was that, 1977 or whatever? Uh, they've spent 50 years destroying that city. It's very arrogant of us to think that we're going to turn it around. And in a way, that's good because there's no other way to fix the situation without Trump enacting some sort of emergency situation, without him enacting potentially a martial law situation. Now, if you look up in the nest, I'm going to put some stuff in there. He had a couple of bangers last night. Uh, Arrest the people in masks now, and looking really bad in LA, bringing the troops. You remember, he's not running again, guys. So, and here's the other good thing: the optics of this are crumbling for the left. I mean, every time there's a disaster in California, Gavin Newsom is nowhere to be found. He's hiding under his desk. He's blaming other people. He's simply, and well, on purpose, but he simply doesn't take care of business there. Like, it's laughable to me that he's still in the conversation for the Democrats to be the presidential nominee. He might give a good speech and he might look confident and all that. He might not crack under pressure in a debate, but I'd like to see him take that message of all and take that to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, all the swing states. And the Democrats, if they're smart in those states, they're not going to run towards Gavin Newsom and his momentum. They're going to run away, far away. He's simply not their best bet as much as they want him to be. But I do think, to get ahead of myself here, they're going to kind of shoehorn him into the Democrat nomination, one way or another. It's inevitable. He's basically spent his entire life uh, ascending to the presidency or trying to. I think he's going to be. We saw this with Kamala. You know, yes, she was vice president, but she was also a San Francisco political animal from that machine that cranks out Pelosi and the others. Uh, and their message just doesn't translate nationwide. All right, so we're going to get into we got some hands already. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the situation. Let me just wrap this up, and then I'll go to. Looks like Cuervo's got his hand up. Um, 1 second here. I got another thing to put up in the nest for you. So there was an Australian reporter who actually got hit by a rubber bullet yesterday. She was a little bit too close to in harm's way there. Lauren Tomasi from an Australian network. That's up in the nest. That's unfortunate. So take a look at that. And for those of you that are old enough like me, you probably remember the uh, post Rodney King riots of 1992. And that's what they're trying to compare this to. I don't know if that's a fair comparison. I think that this is going to be much worse, unfortunately. Uh, I was just in junior high when that happened, so I don't remember the details, 110%. But one other thing to get up there. Where are we at? Where are we at? So there we go. So take a look at that. Take a look at the disingenuousness of Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newscomb, that's up in the nest too, etc. All right. So, all right, I'll set the stage there now. Let me just give you my final download here. It's in terms of legislation with the big beautiful bill, the tax cut bill. Uh, well, Rand Paul and Massey's argument got completely destroyed this weekend because, again, I'm calling it a tax cut bill. Never Trumpers like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, and Elon Musk are calling it a pork spending bill. But one massive component in the big beautiful bill is we will never have to worry about ICE or border security ever again. This shit is going to come to an end when this bill passes because there is billions of dollars in it for the completion of the wall, essentially doubling the number of ICE agents. Here's an amazing statistic, guys. I heard on Charlie Kirk's show from last week when Stephen Miller was on. I think it was his Friday show. Did you know that of all the federal agencies, guys, whether it's DEA, FBI, ATF, etc., ICE and Border Patrol, excuse me, ICE is a newer agency. I'm sorry, it's Border Patrol. So the guys in the green down by the border, okay? Do you know that they have never had any augmentation to their manpower since their inception? So I don't know what we have, something like 12,000 agents. Do you know that that number has been the same probably for 70 years? They've never gotten not a single president has ever appropriated money in any proper budget or spending bill to even give them 1,000 more border agents. They've never grown substantially. They might have had a temporary uh five, maybe they might have shifted 500 people from ATF and deputized them to be border agents for 3 months at a time, and then they went back to their agencies or whatever. But Border Patrol has never grown by a substantive margin. That should blow your mind, everybody. Of all the entities, like fucking Biden adding, what was it, 75,000 IRS agents? He should have added, forget 75,000. We would have been in a much better situation with this invasion if he added like 5 to 10,000 border agents. Okay, all that's in this bill, the completion of the wall. all the technology and drones applicable with that. So the optics of this tragedy in Los Angeles is a big win for the big beautiful bill. But I'll just leave it at that for now. Cuervo, go ahead.
Yeah, shocker. I would have something to say today, right? um, a couple things that I think it's important for some of these recorded spaces is just some of the context behind how did we get here. Um, there's four families that control California. You can go do a search on YouTube called the Four Families of California, and you'll get a deep dive on that. But what is California? California is an agricultural state, so they take advantage of the cheap labor that they can get from. This has been going on for decades, by the way. So who owns some of these corporations that benefit off of the cheap labor that they can get from importing all these illegal aliens? Again, for decades. Um, companies like the pistachio industry or pomegranate juice. They're all owned by the same family, and they all donate to guess who? Gavin Newsom. So, when you start breaking down, Gavin Newsom is the result of corporate funding, right? So if you really want to make some impact, go back and look and see who funds this guy. It's also no conspiracy theories. He's Nancy Pelosi's nephew, I think. So again, I kind of want to point out that this corporate communism kind of concept is very prevalent in California. And the last thing I'll land on, when we talk about immigration spending, it's all theater. Democrats, Republicans have been having long speeches about border security for 3 decades. They don't do shit. They just don't do anything because it's all theater. Democrats and Republicans are the opposite sides of the same coin. They never change. It's all theater. At the end of the day, both anybody that owns a business that can take advantage of cheap labor, call it slave labor. Let's use these really I don't know, egregious terms that they like to use. It's slave labor, right? It's cheaper labor, um, and they're all benefiting from it, both Republicans and Democrats alike. And until we get to a state where we can start vetting these people and actually find people that will fight for American sovereignty, then we're going to continue to be having these debates over and over and over again for like we have been for like the last 20 years. And I'll land it there.
Thank you, Cuervo. Appreciate it. A couple more things for you. If you look up above, you got Maxine Waters. I'm assuming this is from yesterday because it's only what, not even 6 in the morning in LA right now, yelling at the National Guard. This is a woman who's been elected for like 40 years in Congress. Complete fucking retard. She's in there hollering at the National Guard. Unbelievable. Uh, Jerry Callahan, he has he quote tweeted the bricks that are being thrown at police cruisers or SUVs. Uh, although that it's Highway Patrol. I'm looking at it again. I don't know how old of a video that is. It says Alameda. I thought Alameda was in the Bay Area. I know shit's going on in San Francisco too, but I don't know if they're starting to, attack LEOs in San Fran. I've not seen that. We'll have to monitor that more closely. Janet, you're up.
Well, good morning, everyone. And I just want to start off by saying that Gavin is nowhere to be found because he's hiding underneath Mayor Karen Bass's balls. That's where he's at. At least she's got, she's willing to pretend not to worry about who she is. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But what I don't want to see after all this mess, which I'm already worried about, is us bailing out this state again. We bail them out over and over and over for all the dumbass choices that their leadership does for their state over and over again. And because it hurts their tourist industry, it costs millions and millions of dollars to fix all the damage, all the injured police officers, injured people in the streets. I mean, all the damage that this does, and the fact that he calling it protesting when it is clearly riots, not protesting. Protesting is walking up and down the street with signs, yelling with a megaphone, not throwing Molotov cocktails and tearing shit up. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I don't understand how, after all other things they've done, that their economy can be so huge with people leaving in droves. I mean, Hilton, Tesla, other big corporations have packed up and left. So I think the numbers are wrong. I don't think that California has near the amount of money that they're making as people think they are. I think they're boasting. They're lying about a lot of their numbers.
It's taxes, Janet. They tax
Well,
the shit out of the citizenry. That's how they, yeah, big companies are leaving, but there's 35 million people there. That's a lot of tax money.
yeah.
Uh,
When do they stop? When it gets to be 100% of your check, you have to hand it completely over to the government before something's going to change. I don't know. I'm just having a really hard time understanding how much is enough for California before they're going to. I mean, my state has a balanced budget amendment. Why should my little old state that pays their taxes, pays their bills, takes care of the roads and their people have to pay any money to California because they're stupid asses? The people in office. So I don't understand that. That's all I wanted to add. That's my 2 cents for this morning. But damn, just people, please pray for all the poor people that are stuck in that state that have no option but to stay there and have every check drained from their bank account, and they're never going to save any money, and they're just living measly check to a measly check to a measly check because this state hates their ass. That's all I want to say. Thank you for letting me
it
speak.
it is ridiculous. I think the old cliche of living in Southern California, oh, you don't need a jacket year round. I think that's wearing really thin, I believe. Uh, some of you on here I know are like Cuervo and others. Summer, I know you're originally from California. I see Becky was in here too. I know we had a couple of Californians in here. So uh, the situation is as follows, friends: is that I'm not going to say California's economy has been inflated, right? I mean, they had the power of Hollywood there for many years. I know that's died out, but the other thing is the tax base is enormous, and also there's essentially the population of a country in that one state, guys. It's just a massive tax base. You also have all of our shipping ports go on the West Coast. The major hub, of course, Long Beach, California, in Los Angeles County. That's how California's made their money over the last 40 or 50 years. And by the way, what has California been known for since the late 1970s? Illegal immigration. Illegal immigrants do pay taxes. You got to remember, they're not. Yes, there is the working on under the table for cheap money on construction sites, but think about agriculture, think about hotels, think about all that. You telling me there's no illegal immigrants there? If there's millions of illegal immigrants in California, it's a safe bet that 70% of them are paying taxes. Illegally, of course, because they're not citizens. They shouldn't even be there. But and do that math, guys, times 50 years. That state has fallen apart since Ronald Reagan left. So we're talking since 1976 is when he ran for president the first time. So prior to that, he was the governor of California. That essentially has been the downfall of California. It's been since the late 70s. So we're in decade 5 of that state crumbling. It hasn't been fast. It's been actually quite slow, and it gets progressively worse. So yeah, the news is not good for SoCal or the entire state. It really isn't. Um, I couldn't live there just because it's too big for me. and I don't really like being poisoned by the atmosphere, which is, the fumes and stuff is sitting on the freeways is not for me. When I was a kid, before I go to Susan, uh, my favorite TV show was Chips, California Highway Patrol. You guys all know this show. I can't even believe I used to aspire to want to be a motorcycle cop on LA's freeways when I was a kid, 40 years ago. But maybe that's why they're called childhood fantasies and not reality. So I used to make my BMX bike look like a police motorcycle. I'll try and find a picture and put it on X so you guys could see me when I was like 5 years old on my Huffy BMX bike, which was tricked out to be a Chips motorcycle. So yeah, it was all about Ponch and John. I don't even think Ponch and John could save Los Angeles right now. Do you? Susan, how are you?
Good morning. Thanks for giving me a mic. Um, Jane, I feel your pain. I totally understand where you're coming from. I just let me say that I think California actually is a red state. I think they've had 4 or 5 million illegal aliens voting in that state for decades. If they do not allow, if they follow the EO, and I think eventually, I mean, it's in the Constitution that only citizens are supposed to vote, right? But I think if the Supreme Court codifies this, only American citizens vote, not green card holders, not visa holders, not visa overstays. If they codify that, I think that California, first of all, because of the census, they included all the illegal aliens, would lose about 13 seats in the House of Representatives. And as for the riots, and they are riots, um, it's actually war. I don't know who these people are. They got Mexican flags, which cracks me up because they're protesting people that they want to be able to send back to Mexico while they're flying their Mexican flags. It doesn't make sense to me. But I think is going on. This is a well funded, and I posted a link in the bubble from Data Republican. I think you all know who she is. That she did she's been working on this for about a week now, and she's basically found out who's funding all these things, and especially the stuff that happened down in Colombia. And I think this is basically, it's not an insurrection because insurrection is usually American citizens insurrecting against their own company, own country, right? This is a concerted effort by the left and by the communists and by South America or Central America or Mexico to totally disrupt our country and destroy it from within. And I think it's going to get ugly. And I think California is doomed until the good people take that state back. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Yeah, the issue, yeah, good, well said, Susan. The problem is with their census and all that, they're counting all those illegal aliens as essentially registered voters. And where do the illegal aliens live? In Democrat congressional districts and Democrat cities. Therefore, that's why that state is in a holding pattern. Yeah, I've seen the maps and things. I know it is red in the middle and north of the Bay Area, up by the Oregon border. Like Modesto, I think I get all that. The problem is it's the way the elections are weighed that California can't break free. We saw this during Trump's reelection, guys. I mean, New York, that might be the closest we get to flipping it red. Uh, and if Trump can't do it, I mean, as much as I like JD Vance, he ain't winning New York in 2028. He's just not. Trump is a New Yorker to the bone, and he couldn't do it where everybody knew who he was, and he hasn't been able to do it in 3 elections. So, but again, how much of that is his fault per se, and how much of California being blue is the fault of the voters. I got to tell you, you got to do the census so that illegal aliens are not counted, because California organically lost, I think, 3 or 4 congressional districts just since 2018 because of the amount of like native people that are moving out of there, right? Uh, they every cycle they seem to lose a House seat or two. They had something like 50 something. I think they're at like 48 now. That's how many fucking people are leaving that state, but it doesn't matter because they're replacing them tenfold with illegals. So, and again, the census dictates the amount of congressional seats. And if there is, yeah, okay, so rural California, the San Joaquin Valley, which is very red, right? So if they lose 50,000 people or 100,000 people in one congressional cycle, and the city of Los Angeles under Biden in 2022 will say absorbs 250,000 Mexicans and Central Americans, and what's the fucking point? You know, what are we doing here? So that's the problem is it might be really red in terms of the actual American citizens that are allowed to be lawfully voting, but it don't matter when the cities inhale 250,000 of illegals in in an election cycle. You're basically giving the Democrats another congressional seat. Like, how many congressional districts are there in Los Angeles County? There's like tons of them because there's so many people there. So it's a big problem, guys. It's not so simple as, you know, some of you have talked about it and talked around it. When are the people going to wake up? I think the people have woken up. The problem is there's too many illegals. They know their state's fucked up. They know they're getting bent over. They know it's a shithole. They get all that. The problem is too many people are leaving and they're being replaced by illegals. Now, going to go back to the hands here. I need you guys to be patient with me because there's a lot of information dropping. So I'm going to be talking a lot. I do apologize. I can't STFU this morning, guys, as this, I have to navigate this convo. I will get everybody in. All right. So Cuervo shared his video. Let me just talk about another thing up here. So Susan, I think, was talking about that Mexican flag. So I was planning on going to Mexico for my my anniversary in October. I had a long conversation last night with her, and I said, "We're, you know, seriously, fuck Mexico. I'm not giving them 5 cents of my money." In conjunction with Claudia Scheinbaum, the president down there, you heard what she's basically telling people to riot because the Trump's going to break up Mexico with the tariffs. Okay? You know, if this was 1939, back when our Congress had a set of balls, they would be looking to declare war on Mexico. And trust me, I heard it in Spanish and I heard the translation in English. Claudia Scheinbaum, the president of Mexico, was advocating for anarchy in a foreign country by her citizens who are there illegally. Can you imagine if, you know, 50,000 rednecks from Alabama were in Juarez and they had Confederate flags and they were having Texas barbecue and they were playing Kenny Chesney music or whatever the country music people listen to? I don't keep up with it, right? And they were going through the barrios of Juarez and like destroying the tequila bars and shit like that. And Trump said, you know, I want my good old boys from Birmingham, Alabama to, you know, trash Mexico because of the fentanyl they let it, you know, so, you know, burn the tequila bars, burn the taquerias, uh, destroy the barrios and the haciendas. What do you think the Claudia Scheinbaum and the Mexican army and the federales would do to those redneck white boys? They'd be lucky to keep their head. They'd be in a prison like Secot in El Salvador right now, somewhere in the mountains of Mexico. This is outrageous, guys. I'm going to say boycott Mexico right now if you have any vacations planned. That's aid and comfort to the enemy, the way I'm seeing it. All right, continuing. Who hasn't spoken yet? I think Ryan's up next, then BP. Then we'll recycle through everybody else.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. No, I actually was born and raised in San Diego, and it's been a mess. I mean, my friend lives over there, and he says he's paying $6 for gas, which is ridiculous. $6 a gallon for gas, which is absolutely ridiculous. Look, Gavin Newsom cares about one thing: 2028. That's what he cares about. He doesn't care about California at all. He can give a fuck less, to be honest with you. And another thing, for 4 years, all we heard about was January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Are we going to hear about this riot? Because last I checked, it's a riot. The media is saying that this is peaceful. Blowing up a car is not peaceful. I just wanted to say, like Newsom, all he cares about is 2028. Anybody related to Pelosi is going to be a problem because she's an idiot as well. But let me tell you one thing. I moved in at 2016 from California to Florida, and that was the best decision I made. But California is a mess. He got 6 million votes in California, I believe, and lost by 3 million. That's absurd.
Yeah, he is crazy enough to run again. I keep telling people that. I mean, what is this? I don't know if California has term limits for governors. He might be term limited out. I don't know, but uh, what else is he going to do, guys? He's not going to go on CNN and have a show. Like I said, he's been groomed his entire life to be president. And if they are, it's as crazy as them running Kamala again, guys. It's on that level of psycho. Even if JD Vance crashes and burns, which I don't think he will, by any stretch of the imagination, the United States will not elect a California, San Francisco liberal as president. They just won't. And you have proof positive of that in November. And here's the thing: he's a little bit smarter than Kamala. He's not. He's more well spoken. He's a better liar than her. But the problem is, you have this track record. This dude has been in politics since he was in his 20s. What was he? The mayor of San Francisco. He was the lieutenant governor. I think he might have been attorney general at one point, and he's been governor for 8 years. This guy's been actively destroying California, either as a deputy or as the chief executive of the state for almost 25 years now. Like again, I yes, he'll win Oregon, he'll win Washington. I don't care about those places. Do you think for 1 second that Gavin Newsom is going to go to Pennsylvania in front of a bunch of coal miners in Lancaster and spur on confidence in his abilities to be president? It's crazy, but let him do it. Let the Democrats be next level psycho. We'll just sit back and watch. Before I go to Nice, another thing I want to inject in the convo. In regards to the Biden invasion, I do think that in particular, strategically, there were a lot of people that were let into the country for a reason. You hear Trump talking about Maduro emptied out the Venezuelan prisons and he evicted all of the Tren de Aragua. That we've seen is true, because right now they're rotting in a in with no hope of parole or daylight in El Salvador right now, or at least 2 to 500 of them are just in the last 3 or 4 months. So that's accurate. A lot of these animals that have killed and molested these young women, like Lake and Riley and Jocelyn Nungary, they could be criminally insane. People that never, serial rapists and psychopaths that should have never been let out, forgetting their third world shithole where they came from, but in civil society in the United States. So a lot of you think that Trump embellishes things, and on the campaign trail he made a very specific point. And you even saw it, guys. Military age men. Okay, there was from wherever they were from, Honduras, Venezuela, Brazil, there was a concerted effort to get fit men ages 20 to 40 in this country, or Biden's effort was there. Traditionally, in Trump's first term, you saw a lot of families, a lot of like mothers with 4 children trying to sneak into the country with babies. That's always been the stereotype for illegals. People that want to come in here and go on welfare and work the system to their advantage. In particular, I think it was February of 2022. no, maybe 2021. It was like right after he got inaugurated. Go look at War Room and stuff. They were down there. Uh, like Sarah Carter, that journalist from Fox News, she was down there. It was hundreds and hundreds of men in their 20s and 30s coming in this country. They were strategically picked, and they are the ones that, when Trump says they're hired protesters, they were paid to come into this country to cause anarchy. And they've been, what they are is a big sleeper cell, uh, mostly in California, but other places too. Again, they can't do this in Fargo, North Dakota. They can't do this in Dayton, Ohio. It has to be Democrat cities with high volume Hispanic populations like LA. You can't get more Hispanic than LA and San Diego, okay? Even more so than Texas. Where they can hide and be embedded in these Latin communities that for 50 years have had non-violent illegal immigrants, like in South Central LA or Watts LA, uh, etc. Okay, so they're able to camouflage with people of their own origin. Okay, and they're also in sanctuary cities, so they've been able to just sit by and wait, commit some petty crime here or there, and they get activated for this moment. That's my opinion. Niece, what's going on?
Yeah, good morning, Gads. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say Illinois is the cornfield equivalent of West Coast politics and corruption. Exactly what's going on in California is going on here in Illinois. It's horrible. And don't kid yourself. We all know J.B. Pritzker, that fat son of a bitch, is sitting there in the bullpen waiting for it to pop off in Chicago. But Chicago is different from LA, is that the brothers and the sisters in Chicago have had it with this illegal crap. So this could get massively, massively nasty. So whatever President Trump has to do to nip this in the bud, bring it on. Military, whatever he chooses, it has to be stopped and quickly. And Susan, such great points. But I've lived, excuse me, in a blue state pretty much my whole life. The people in my state, as California, I believe the majority of the state is conservative and just want to work and let the government leave us the fuck alone. We are aware. The problem is we don't control stolen elections, and that is the God's honest truth. And I'm very, very hopeful that the Supreme Court has finally decided to take an election case. It's the Illinois case that Judicial Watch is behind. About 14 days after voting, after election, they keep counting the votes. Now they're going to hear that in September or October. And if they rule correctly on that, that is going to be massive. And lastly, on Illinois, you know, Gads or somebody made a great point. I think it was Gads talking to Janet about this state is taxing us people out of existence. They just passed another budget. And of course, it's all against us. It's all more taxes. We're, I think, the highest, if not second highest, gasoline tax in the nation. They're now taxing us on deliveries. Bad enough we have a horrendous sales tax for our state, but now if I get a lot of stuff from chewy.com and Amazon delivered because I'm rural, every one of those is now going to have $1.50 additional tax pretty soon. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That son of a bitch is going to tax us for each time we flush our toilet. That is how bad it's getting. And I personally am still fighting, but I'm getting tired. And if I could have left 11 years ago when I retired, I would have. 6 weeks after I retired, my mother had a stroke. 4 years prior to that, my dad was killed in a farm accident, or I would have left. It was my dream to go to Tennessee. So there are many people like me that are trapped in these Democrat run states. And it's a horrible feeling, but I'm here for obligation reasons to my mother, my family. But It's very, very hard. And I want to thank you, Janet, for saying that. Say a prayer for these people. And I'm not looking for sympathy or anything, please. I'm just stating when I see posts sometimes where people say, when are these blue state people going to wake the fuck up and start voting right? We are awake. We do vote right. We don't control the stolen elections, and they are completely controlled. And hopefully, we're going to finally, maybe, get this rectified and get to free and fair elections again. Thank you, Gads.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, well said. Yep, trust me, I'm surrounded by blue states, and we're like the little red shield wall in the northeast part of the United States, and it's rough because they don't have far to go if they do want to get out of the traffic in the urban areas. You know, it's very easy in New England. You could move to any state and still be an hour and a half away from where you grew up. If you're from Vermont or Massachusetts or Southern Maine, that's a big problem. You know, um, California's got it 1,000 times worse though, for many reasons, right? Uh, it's basically a country within the confines of the United States, much like Texas is. They're basically their own little countries, not just in terms of their GDP as a state or whatever. That's a big part of it, but the amount of people they have, the amount of problems they have, you know, and Illinois, another example. Yes, absolutely. In the Midwest, perfect example of a Democrat-run state, from top to bottom. I think, guys, that I'd like that. Again, I want to go back to my original point. I think you have a situation in which you're seeing the fever pitch of allowing all those Biden allowing the border to be open. It was a strategic dump out of people because Trump is correct when he says the crime in Venezuela, for example, went down remarkably, with Tren de Aragua getting evicted uh, in 2022 and 2023. And, you know, now, like I said, most of them are sitting in El Salvador. So something to think about. Just think about that. It was all, look at the old footage, guys, of when the mainstream news and was filming down by the border during the invasions of 2022, 2023. It was all dudes, guys. I didn't see any women in one. Maybe for every woman with child or every woman or every minor, I saw probably 100 men. They were getting 10,000 a day, guys, in the winter of 2022. 10,000 a day were coming into the United States. All right. Even if 7,000 of them were all men, do the math, guys. We've got 12 to 15 million military age men, organized or semi-organized, in this country. Now you know why this big, beautiful bill has to pass. I'm going to go to Summer next because she's a native SoCal chick, lady. I say chick because you're so young, Summer. Take it as a compliment, but go ahead.
Oh, you can call me whatever you want. I like that. So I'm going to actually defend California, which I don't usually do, but only because over the last 2 days, I've been paying attention to this pretty closely. Obviously, like my in-laws live 10, 15 minutes from from everything going on, and although they're tucked away in their rich little community, it's still getting really close to home for a lot of them. And I know that everybody thinks that California is this raging liberal state, but to what Nisi just said, I don't think it is at all. In fact, I saw more support for Trump in 2024 in California than I did in Texas. And that is not an exaggeration. They are surrounded by these cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, yes, and they do vote. And that's the problem. And, you know, I can't remember how many years ago when we tried or they tried to have Newsom recalled. I mean, before it was even, the vote could even go in, it was already a done deal. Like, the fix was in. And so what she said is so true, that until we fix elections and our polls, because interesting fact, I am not a resident of California, yet in 2020, a ballot went to my in-laws' house, which is bizarre, don't live there, in my name. And I guarantee you that was probably counted for Joe Biden. And it hasn't since. It was only that one election, of course, 2020, that not only myself, but my husband and our daughters, we all had ballots. And my father-in-law sent us a picture, and we're like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, please burn that immediately, or vote the way you know I would. But just kidding. Anyways, I do think that until those things are fixed, this is going to be a problem. And my question actually to you, Gaz, or to anybody is, at what point can there be some action where somebody is arrested? Where, like Newsom, acting like the freaking queer that he is, gets on television and is like, come and arrest me, big guy. And I'm like, fucking arrest him. Like, okay, we will. And we will absolutely put this everywhere and show people, and that Karen Bass woman, like, we're not fucking around. Like, Donald Trump has the authority. They finally have a situation where it's like, I never want to hear anybody on that side ever talk about J6 again, because this is ridiculous. And it's just like they get away with it. They get away with it. They get away with it. And I think that the average American person is really starting to feel that, like, defeat in a way. We won, but we're not winning. Like, we won the battle. We're not winning this war because they just do whatever the hell they want and they don't care. So do you think Trump is going to take some legal authority or somebody in this situation I haven't went on last night, but I can tell you, just talking to my family, a couple of my friends that live outside of that area, they have had it. They have had it. They have had it. They're like, this is insanity. These people are crazy. Nobody is coming for us. We're all on our own. And what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I thought voting Trump in would help us, but it isn't. So, I think there's just this morale that's kind of going down, 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 because we're seeing all this corruption. It couldn't be more blatant. Our dude is in the White House. Our dudes are in, these agencies that could actually help us, and they're not. They're letting this happen. And it's like somebody needs to stand up, do the right thing. I don't care how much shit they get. They will be backed by the average American person who has had it. I'm one of them. I have fucking had it with these people. It's insane. It's not fair anymore. It's not right. And I'm just curious, do you think something's finally going to happen, or is this just going to be another, they get away with it? I don't know.
Can I just say something? Summer, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. And I think it took 2 months for the 2024 election of California to come through, because it was just throwing ballots and ballots and ballots. And those ballots that that your mom was sent for, for you and your husband and whatever, what they did was they went through the voting rolls again and saw no votes, and they just voted for you. So cleaning the voter rolls and not letting illegal aliens vote, to 4 or 5 million voters of illegal aliens are voting. California is a solidly red state. I can guarantee you that. So you have to fix the voting rolls, and you have to not allow illegal aliens to vote, and you have to get rid of the liberals in California. The officials, because they're all corrupt, every single one of them. So
So,
that's just my take.
no, all agreed. And this is the root of the problem, isn't it? Now, Summer, let me answer a few of your questions really quick, and that was good information. I don't think Newsom or Bass is going to get arrested because Tom Homan threatened it, but I do think that they're going to stand out of the way and allow Trump to be the bad guy via the National Guard, via the Marine Corps, or whatever uh, law enforcement or paramilitary group he has down there. What I do like is, and I share the frustration, is I'm not sure when you popped in, but you're seeing much more. Everybody's on the same page with Pete Hegseth at the DOD. Uh, authorizing the Marines to come up from Camp Pendleton to LA. That's, again, not a long drive, San Diego to LA. Tom Holman, Christy Nome, Home Security, ICE. Also, I'm missing somebody. DOJ, Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, FBI, all of our federal agencies under Trump with the new leaders intact and heads of department, they're all on the same page. And can you imagine? I'll say this again. Sorry this is for the new people, guys. If this was 2020 and you had Bill Barr at DOJ, you had Christopher Wray at the FBI. I don't even know who was at Homeland Security towards the end or who the Secretary of Defense was, but this is where it became that this is where it unraveled for Trump in 2020 during the summer of love, when the Pacific Northwest was burning to the ground. I don't see that summer being the case this time. Newsom doesn't need to be, well, he does need to be arrested, but he doesn't need to be arrested for us to solve the problem and Trump to declare maybe martial law, potentially the suspension of habeas corpus. And like you said, and like some other ladies have been saying, Summer, he has the support of the people behind him this time. I'm not seeing anybody, even never Trumpers on this app, saying, this is what we voted for. Everybody's saying that. Everybody understands that this is not organic, that it's orchestrated anarchy, and it's a result of Biden's open border. And they want to burn the city to the ground and just cause chaos. And I don't think it's going to get to that point. Now, about your ballot situation, what year did you move from California? When did you move to Texas, Summer?
2017, but I never lived in Manhattan Beach, which is what's bizarre. I never had a voter registration. I never had a driver's license. My driver's license was from San Marcos, which is northern San Diego. And so we have no idea how in the hell I got an LA County ballot. And same with my daughters, unless they just assumed because Eric, that was where he grew up. But we didn't live there. So it was very bizarre. And I still have a picture somewhere, but yeah. And my other brother-in-law who lives in Maryland also got one. And he got one in 2020, and then he got one in 2022 for the primary, which is interesting. And he works for the DOJ, lives in Maryland. Like I don't know. It was just very bizarre. We all had ballots to this one address in Manhattan Beach.
Well, I have a similar story, believe it or not. So you guys know I own a house in Massachusetts, but we live in New Hampshire. So I'm a homeowner in these two states. Now, I voted in Massachusetts up until 2014 because we moved back to New Hampshire. I have been getting a ballot, and I think it's because I own a property down there. I've been getting a ballot from the Massachusetts GOP since 2016, and the last presidential election I voted in Massachusetts was 2012. The last midterm was 2014. We moved back here in 2014. So this is the third. I got a ballot at our mailbox at our place in Massachusetts because we don't have tenants there. It's just a vacant house with our stuff in it. It's an investment property. But I was a registered voter at that address from 2008 to 2014. I have gotten a ballot in 2016, 2020, and 2024. In fact, in the fall, it was the fourth time I had to write and email the Secretary of State in Massachusetts to take me off the Massachusetts voter roll. It was in my town that I lived in, the city we lived in, and it was at our address, obviously, because it came to we check the mail once a week. It's only an hour from where we live now, so we go down there frequently. So my wife got it when it was her turn to pick up the mail, and because she's not a Trump voter, she never gets political. She talked to me right away. She's like, "You need to do this. I don't want you voting down here." She didn't want me to vote for Trump in two states, which I thought was cute. She's not a conservative. So I guess what I'm saying is that's a blue state problem, because this is in November, or it might have been the end of October, because they had early voting in Massachusetts. That was the third election I got a ballot from the Mass GOP. I have not been a member of the Mass GOP since 2014. I've been registered in New Hampshire again, just like I was when I turned 18. It's insane. And that's a blue state problem, Summer. So I guess my point in telling you that boring ass story of my personal experiences, I think there's a dozen states. New York's another one, Mass, Rhode Island, California, Jersey,
Connecticut.
Connecticut, where you have to every election, because they're all in November, like around August, you need to contact the Secretary of State and make sure you're not on the voter roll, because they, especially like Mass has early voting. I think California doesn't have early voting, right?
No.
They don't. Yeah, I'm surprised because it's the biggest state. But anyway,
Actually, no, I think they do. I think they just started doing that not too long ago. They used to not have early voting.
yeah, and they're still sending me a motherfucking ballot, and I haven't voted there in 10 years.
Yep.
So you have to get ahead of it though before they print the ballot. So like in August, you need to get on the phone. Like if you're in Florida now, but you lived in New York or somewhere else, you need to call and say, the last election, even though I haven't lived in that state in 10 years or voted in that state, why am I every election I've been getting a ballot? So I find it odd because I was a registered Republican in Massachusetts. I was never unenrolled. And obviously, New Hampshire, you have to be registered with one of the two parties. They don't have open primaries. So I'm surprised that I'm even getting one. You'd think that a guy that was a Republican voter when he lived in Massachusetts, they would not want to give me a ballot. So I find that odd. Summer, I don't know if you and your husband were unenrolled or were you, that might have had a lot to do with it if you were a registered independent.
I was registered independent, but Eric was always registered a Republican. And my daughters never voted there, so who knows? I mean, they weren't registered. But I was registered an independent. And what's interesting is that I did look into that, and what was even better about the whole story is that they couldn't even find me. This was just like in 2022. They're like, oh, we have no record. I'm like, I have a photo of a ballot that was sent in my name to an address that I frequent often but didn't live, and this is just really wild. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we don't even have record of you. I'm going, okay, California, you are just quite the mess. So I have no idea how I mean, it was 2020. It didn't happen this year. I didn't get anything this year. Didn't get anything for primaries. It was only for the 2020 election. And so that's my one election story that, I mean, it's been great in Texas, although, I mean, we're becoming California, and our voting is crazy too. But yeah, I don't know. It was just really wild. And I contacted the Secretary of State. I contacted, there was somebody else I contacted, and they were like, oh no, we have no record of you at that address or anything. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I don't know, guys. I think it's all it's just crazy. What a time to be alive. I keep saying that.
It's a big blue state problem, and yes, it is a crazy time to be alive. And I've got to tell you guys too. Let me shift gears here. California's problem is indeed illegals, and that goes for the other blue states as well. But on that note, we're seeing how this has impacted the politics of how important it is to pass the big beautiful bill, because in it, all of this stuff gets fixed up. Twice as many ICE agents, finishing the wall. A lot of people forget too that Biden was actively taking the wall apart in 2021 and 2022. Remember, towards the end, he was selling sections of it to Mexico. And Governor Abbott, another one of Summer's favorites in Texas, I'll give him credit where credit. Just had to dump that call. Can you guys still hear me or no?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, I just had a spam call I had to get rid of. Greg Abbott did try and buy back the sections of the wall that were on the Texas side frantically towards the end. But I mean, that was a deterrent, guys. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people think the wall didn't work. That wall that Trump put up in 2017 and 2018, whatever, the 400 miles he put up, that was effective. So, and if you think it wasn't, why was Biden taking it down? That's the thing. Everybody says the walls don't work. People just go around them or they'll just climb them. No, it was working, guys. Because it's, and Tom Holman talked about this on Laura Loomer's podcast yesterday. Yesterday. I saw it yesterday. It might have been from earlier on, but he said, you know, in the big, beautiful bill, because Rand Paul went on this whole tangent, like, it's only supposed to cost $7 billion to finish the last 600 miles of the wall. I guess that the number we're going to say for rounding purposes is 1,000 miles in total, and there's like 400 of it up, 400 miles done. He's like, it's only going to cost about $1 billion for every 100 miles. Why does Trump want 34 billion? It's because it's the technology that goes into it as well. They're going to outfit the wall with sensor equipment and drones and things like that. So, you know, Border Patrol that might be 5 miles on the other side of the wall, they won't have to look in their camera and say, oh, look, there's a couple hundred people congregating on the Mexican side at the wall. Let's go. There'll be deterrence. It's a whole bunch of technology that goes into it to make it state of the art. You know, they'll probably have a couple of drones that fly south of the wall, and they start broadcasting in Spanish. Do not come to the United States. You'll be arrested. Blah, blah, blah. So that's why it's so much money to finish the wall, just so you're aware. Again, I would encourage you all to read the bill. But it's got all this stuff in it. That's why, you know, if Elon Musk is calling that pork, then oink, oink. Sign me up for it. That's the type of pork I can get behind. Keeping motherfuckers out of this country. Christ's sakes. I mean, that spending, I never said, guys, and all my spaces are recorded. Did I ever come on here in the fall and say, I'm voting for Trump not to save money? I never said that. You get, and I don't think any of you did either. We understand you have to spend money to fix this country, and we don't have the country fixed yet, right? So many problems. And it's, if you can't look at Los Angeles the last week and think that we're going to cut deficits anytime soon, we're going to spend $200 billion, guys, just this year in the mass deportations. That's 1 year. That's it. One. This is a 10-year project. We're going to spend $1 trillion getting these people out by the end of this rainbow. It's probably going to be around 2030, probably after that. So again, we can't really, you know, I'm not going to have any future grandchildren to burden with debt if we don't take care of this problem, because we're not going to have a country anymore. That's one thing you have to tell. Everybody's like, you know, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, Elon Musk, we're putting debt on our grandchildren. I don't have any grandchildren yet. I'm not in a hurry to get any. All right. That's the farthest thing from my mind right now. I'm just trying to get through the 2025, Elon. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't look that far ahead in the future. So the big, beautiful bill, through very tragic purposes, gets a boost because of what's going on in LA at this particular moment in time. Janet, thanks for waiting. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for letting me speak. I wanted to chime in earlier with what Summer had asked. I was in a couple of discussions about this for a few weeks. The thing is, as soon as Trump arrests anyone, I don't care, or Trump's administration, as soon as they arrest Gavin Newsom for breaking the law by having a sanctuary city, by protecting illegal criminals, that's against the Constitution, whatever they find out, it doesn't matter whether it's legal and whether it's constitutional or not, which it would be. They're going to make him out to be a dictator. See, we told you. As soon as he got in there, he was just going to start throwing his weight around and putting all of us in prison. He's going to lock us all up. He's going to put us in Gitmo, blah, blah, blah. It's all you're going to hear. And the lawsuits. even more of them are going to happen. And they'll make a martyr out of every single person. I don't care what these people have done. I don't care how many laws they've broken or whatever. They are going to portray all of them as martyrs, every single one of them, because Trump is a disgusting pig. That's what they're going to say constantly, day after day after day. So you think people have been trying to kill him now? Man, there are going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people lined up to take Trump out, simply from the rhetoric we're going to get as soon as they arrest one person. And that's why we haven't seen any arrests. I guarantee that. And then the other thing is, the reason why they're stopping doing everything they can in all these liberal cities and the liberal states, and in Texas too. Texas cities that are liberal are stopping as much as they can of making it harder and harder to get rid of these illegals, okay? Because they need those numbers. They need those inflated numbers. And without those numbers for 2026, they're going to hurt. So they're dragging their feet. I mean, they are digging in and they are fighting and bawling and throwing tantrums, doing whatever they have to make Trump out as to be some horrible dictator so that they can win. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's legal or not. They're going to do any means possible to win, and they have, and they will again. That's just look at what happened in Arizona when their own governor voted against their own bill. You know, it's ridiculous, but they just keep doing it because it doesn't matter what they do. Nothing is ever going to be enough. So we have to support Trump, even though we haven't seen any arrests. We have to try to understand why there haven't been any arrests. Why have they not arrested people? Well, to me, that makes perfect sense. Okay, because he already has a target on him, and so does J.D. Vance, and so does Kash Patel, so does Pam Bondi, so does Dan Bongino. Every single one of them has to have 24-hour guards, probably even when they go to the bathroom. I mean, I'm just saying, it's pathetic and disgusting, but these people will stop at nothing to get rid of these people. They want them out because they need those extra people to vote for them and make their numbers look good so that they can win, period. And we have to start focusing on that. And that is why they are fighting and scratching and clawing their way all the way to the bottom of the barrel to win. So I just wanted Summer to know that. Thank you for letting me speak, and God bless America, because we need it.
Yes, indeed. No complaints there, Janet. Guys, Stephen Miller, I think his ears were burning. Look what he just posted about half an hour ago. I'll read it to you. It's very much relevant to our conversation here. He's saying Los Angeles is all the proof you need that mass migration unravels societies. You can have all the other plans and budgets you want. If you don't fix migration, then nothing else can be fixed or saved. That's what I'm trying to tell the people that don't want to spend money in the big, beautiful bill. That, you know, Rand Paul's at his core, this is his complaint, that it's going to add $3 trillion to the budget in 10 years, to the deficit. So he's worried right now, we're on the precipice of losing our country, and he's worried about in 2035 if the deficit is 40 trillion versus 37 trillion. Can you believe that that's what he's worried about? You know what, Rand, it won't matter if the deficit's 50 trillion. We won't be the United States of America anymore. So we'll be able to default on all that debt because we won't have a fucking country anymore. So who gives a shit? Okay, so read that. Here's the other thing too. Again, this is my boycott Mexico plan. There's nothing more patriotic you could do right now than not go to Mexico, guys. I know a lot of you, particularly in the, well, really everywhere, but in the Sunbelt states, because it's a closer flight for you. I know a lot of you like going to Mexico. I understand that. It's a beautiful country. I like the Yucatan Peninsula a lot myself. I've been surfing down there several times. I've been to Mexico a half dozen times in my life. I get it. I understand it. I never, ever tell people what to do with their hard-earned money. But you've got the president of Mexico essentially telling Hispanics in Los Angeles to burn the fucking city down. Like, I don't exactly, you know, and it's not hyperbolic. Those of you that are bilingual or whatever, I do know Spanish a little bit. I heard it in Spanish, and I saw it with the English translation underneath it. She's all pissed because Trump is making her pay tariffs, and the free ride is over for Mexico. There's no more leeching on the United States anymore. No more dumping your fucked up people in our country. No more. Oh, we have to do this, otherwise China will infiltrate us. We have to let their fentanyl come up, from south to north into your country. Uh, Mexico will get any excuse you give them, they will take to not be good neighbors. In fact, they're the worst neighbors you could possibly have, right? Think of all I mean, India and Pakistan might be close, Israel and Palestine, Russia and Ukraine. United States and Mexico is right up there, guys. They've been fucking us over since the end of World War II. The first mass deportation was under President Eisenhower in the 1950s called Operation, this is a derogatory term, but it was the literal name of the program, Operation Wetback. Uh, and that became the N word for Mexican people. And I respect that. I don't think they're being dramatic about it. That's the way they take it. I'm not going to argue with anybody in here. But that was the name of the operation, Operation Wetback. We've been mass deportating people into back into repatriating people back into Latin America, guys, since the end of World War II. All right, and there have been some good people that made it through the citizenship naturalization process, but when you're talking millions of people, it's clearly not the majority, right? Okay, and I say this as somebody who had one of my grandmothers was Hispanic. Okay, so even though I'm not really part of any community or anything like that, and I definitely grew up a white boy in New Hampshire, I'm just letting you know I'm not like trying to attack Hispanic people. Like I said, my mother's mother was Hispanic, and I love that woman with every ounce of my being. And she was a citizen who voted for Ronald Reagan twice. So, and she got her naturalization in 1978, I think. So I'm just letting you know, I'm not like getting off on attacking people from Latin America at all. Okay. So, because I'm not. But they're the ones that are at the forefront of this bullshit, and you just have to call it for what it is. Last thing, and I'll go to John because he hasn't spoken. Take a look. Charlie Kirk has that the remittance tax on Mexico. That's different than the tariffs. What that is, guys, is basically you've got a situation where those small box things. It's big in China, but it's also big with Mexico as well. In other words, they don't put a duty on packages or parcels that are like under 10 pounds or something like that, or whatever. The dimensions of the box are, it can't be any bigger than like 8 by 12 or some shit like that. Anyway, this is how Amazon gets a lot of their crap from China via Long Beach. Okay, Mexico, same thing. That's where the fucking fentanyl's being snuck in those little boxes that they don't check. Not only do they not check them, oh, what can this be? Some little Barbie doll, but also they don't fucking pay a duty on them. De minimis tax, I think it's called. I should know this. I'm a tariff guy. But you see my point, friends. This is a major problem. Okay, it's not a little problem, it's a big problem. It's how Mexico makes a lot of money, and it's how a lot of the fucking drugs smuggled into our country. Uh, and she's not happy about it. And she's telling these fucking assholes with Mexican flags to fucking throw cinder blocks at police cruisers, burn shit, and create as much diversion as you can to law enforcement and now military. It's not a good situation, guys. It is not a good situation. John, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm gonna try to keep it quick. I got to jump in the car in a few minutes. And just like you, I'm not here to badmouth, Mexico, bash them or the people. I'm sure there's plenty of good, people that live there, but the cartels own that entire country. It's the Mexican mafia. They're getting pieces of everything. You've seen them. They slaughter and they assassinate leaders, and they're not counties, but like what would be like their county, their mayors, they're funding these people to go into office, uh, and they're just controlling it. The hotels, I don't visit there. It's just me. It's just not my thing. I'm not into going down there, but they're getting pieces of the hotels, restaurants, you name it. I'm not looking to get kidnapped. People have been on the beach. They've been shot by drive-bys on jet skis. And like I said, it's not worth the risk. There's plenty of other places to go. Um, I did have to work a rotation down there years ago when Trump was first in office, and just working with like the Texas Troopers and Border Patrol. They always told me the Mexican Army only owns the property that they're currently standing on. So think about that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I did. Oh, I got to start blocking so much stuff. Um, Sorry guys. No, I did know that, but I'm happy you said that for the benefit of the room. Yeah, the Mexican army's jurisdiction is quite limited, isn't it, down there? Um, so in other words, we can be more on the offense, so to speak, at the southern border. It's something to think about. You know how I know that's true too, John? You remember when the other president was in, Lopez Obrador, he did authorize 30,000 soldiers to be, and he paid for them. It didn't cost us a dime. It cost Mexico a fuck ton of money. You know what it costs to have 30,000 Mexican soldiers on the border for like, how long were they there? A year? Um, to feed them, their weapons and equipment, their drones, all the administration they had to have set up. Remember, they were the safe third country. They were vetting all the gangbangers from Central and South America and sending them back. Trust me, Mexico did not want to do that. Trump forced them to do that in 2017. And now Claudia Sheinbaum is not doing that. And so here we go with tariffs and duties taxes. So we don't need to go to war with these countries, guys. We don't need to go to war with Mexico. We don't need to go to war with Canada. We could fuck up their economies very easily. Just by the simple concept of a tariff on imports. So I'm not really worried about a kinetic war. There will be an economic war. Absolutely. There is an economic war in North America right now. There's no doubt in my mind. We're living it right now, and we're winning it. Look at the tariff revenue the last 60 days. Look at the fact there's no core inflation. Look at the jobs report. Did you guys see Mario's? I know you guys don't like Mario, I know. I just like his tweet team. But China, guys, is on their fucking knees right now economically, if I could sidestep briefly. In fact, because I want you to know about it, I'd like you to let me just put the post up really quick. It's worth reading, guys. You have to. Everybody says we're going to collapse and we're going to have a recession and all this other shit. Let me get it up here. So this is in the Nest, and I'll dictate it to you briefly. This is all relevant, guys, to what's going on, even though we're shifting to China here for a brief moment. So the headline is China's exports to U.S. just fell off a cliff. China's shipments to the U.S. crashed 35% in May, the biggest drop since the COVID shutdowns in 2020. Even with the temporary trade truce and tariff cuts, it seems American buyers still aren't biting. China is making up for it by selling more to Europe and Southeast Asia, but the U.S. relationship's still awkward. Meanwhile, Chinese factories are pumping out goods, local demand is weak, and even car companies are slashing prices like it's Black Friday. That's from the Wall Street Journal. I've got 5 minutes left. Let me explain this to you guys. This is very important because you're not going to hear this from anybody else because nobody reads this stuff. I'll read it for you so you don't have to because you have busy lives. I do too, but this stuff is priority for me. China has a pure export economy. That is their model. That's what our big gamble is in this tariff war. Okay, high stakes poker. And by the way, our Besant, Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick are meeting with the Chinese counterparts in London, I think, this week. What you're seeing in that Wall Street Journal article is that China has a very high supply and low demand problem. Okay. They have way too much product that they can't get on the market. And really, it's about us, guys. We're their biggest customer, one of them. Factories are closing. Scott Bessent, I think he's going to. This is why I think he's right and Elon Musk is wrong. Scott Bessent's our Treasury Secretary. By the way, Elon Musk evidently got that black eye because he got basically rolled by a 62-year-old gay guy who weighs about 80 pounds. So maybe he should have cut down on the ketamine that morning. But remember that black eye he had when, now I know all you QAnon freaks will say he's in the Illuminati, but this is, first of all, if you even believe that, it's always the left eye. That was Elon Musk's right eye. So the QAnon freaks in here, that wasn't an Illuminati tag. That was a legit black eye that he got from either Stephen Miller, who also weighs about 90 pounds, or Scott Bessent, who's, a senior citizen. So Elon Musk might be great at putting rockets up in the air, but he, in a fight, man, he's a pussy. He got rolled by Scott Bessent. I can't believe that. So let me explain some things to you. Bessent's gamble was that this is how we collapsed China. Their economic model is never going to change, and he's correct. Their economy is export, export, export. Okay? And you're seeing it right now. If they can't sell this cheap shit via Amazon or anything else, it's only been what, 2 months, guys? They're collapsed. So when Trump was saying their economy is a paper tiger, he wasn't shitting you. You guys think that Trump embellishes things. Sometimes he does, but not when it comes to China. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to the economy, guys. He just does. And he surrounds himself with people that know, that are of the same mold. So we have China on their knees right now, guys. They have no leverage. And by the way, when you hear Peter Schiff talk about we're never going to bring manufacturing back to the United States, Trump isn't talking about T-shirts and pencils. I think that's what Peter Schiff is misconstruing in this whole thing. If we bring back steel, aluminum, and auto, and some of our, and of course, AI and semiconductors, I don't care if you buy your T-shirts from Amazon that were made by slaves in China. We're not opening up textile factories, guys. This isn't the 1920s. We're opening up semiconductors, chips. Detroit is going to be called Motor City again for a reason.
For you.
Pittsburgh is going to be Steel City again for a reason. All right? That's who, as long as we have steel, aluminum, auto, AI, and semiconductors, I don't give a shit if China supplies us with our dog toys, with our cheap workout equipment. I work in a lot of houses, guys. It's amazing to me how many people buy like dumbbells and exercise bands off of Amazon. Just all packages are nothing but workout. That stuff is garbage, guys. You're better off buying it at a supplier if you want like a real set of dumbbells or a real barbell. It's all cheap plastic shit. Anyway, that's where we're at, guys. We're at a very opportune moment in American history, and it's up to us to take advantage of it. And we are. And every day I'm going to provide you with evidence that the plan is working, because there's way too many people on here that are saying the plan is not working, and they claim to be MAGA people. Most of them just don't understand how the economy works, just like I don't understand how to have a Rumble show, just like I don't understand how to canvass voters. Like Scott Pressler, I'm not saying Scott talks about this, but a lot of these people are good at ballot chasing and shit like that. I'm not good at that stuff, but I do understand this stuff. So I stay in my lane, and I'm telling you, my expertise is better than theirs. And I don't have any expertise. I just have an idea. It's fine. Not everybody has studied economics, knows how the global trade system works. Doesn't mean I'm smarter than them. I'm just smarter than them at this. The plan is working, guys. I'm giving you evidence every single day. You're seeing it. Everybody said because the stock market went down in April, May was like the best May financially this country's had in a very long time. This country's hot as a pistol right now with investments. And you've got Republican senators gaslighting people about our deficit. Well, if our revenue model continues like this for 2 or 3 years, we're probably going to cut $1 trillion or so, if not more, off of the deficit, and we're going to grow. The equation you have to worry about is total debt on top and gross domestic and GDP on the bottom. You guys all know what an equation is, right? All right. So say, for example, the gross domestic product of a country, that's the denominator that goes on the bottom, okay, is 5 billion. Okay. And say the numerator, that's the top part of the equation, is the debt is 2 billion. There you go. That's your equation. Then that figure gives you what your gross GDP is. That's what you have to think about. We're spending money while growing the economy. So we're not taking money off of the debt short term. We're doing it long term. But if the gross domestic product of the country rises, you're never going to substantially add this $10 trillion fantasy figure that the naysayers are saying is going to happen, because your economy is constantly growing. Therefore, your debt will eventually decrease. It's not going to decrease in 2025. Okay, obviously. But it might decrease. Well, not might. Math will tell you, and trends and data will tell you it will by 2030. We had $37 trillion of debt, guys. I don't know how people thought Trump was going to cut like $5 trillion in one spending bill. People are fucking crazy, and they're going on X talking about this shit, and I don't appreciate it, because I know when people are purposely misrepresenting it, like if they're a propagandist, and I know people who just don't understand
Gadsden is a friend of mine
how economics works. And sadly, guys,
and
MAGA, they don't understand how economics works. We don't have a lot of bean counters.
Some hours because
we have a lot of
I
crypto
still have
people, and all they care about is what their
asset
asset statement look. That's another thing. Nothing against the crypto people, but they're
and each week
instant gratification people. All they care about is how their tokens look and buying dips. They don't really care about the economy. They care about their net worth. And we're infiltrated with those guys. And I thank them for their vote, but they really need to sit this one out. Because they're very, 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 very selfish. They only care about their crypto and their stock portfolio. They don't care about long-term success of this country. They care about, when I log into my apps, is my Ethereum higher than it was yesterday? Is my position in Apple or Tesla stock better than it was yesterday?
And Fridays
that's what they care about.
Political shows, and then Sunday is my show.
It's really discouraging to a guy like me that is probably not too much older than these people and sees the country in a very, very different way. Long-term success is as important as short-term gain. The problem is you've got nobody talking about that.
That's my TikTok stuff.
And there are some people I think that can explain it.
I'm never going
to. Grant Cardone's a guy that gets it. There's a few
and if they want
on
to see
here
me
that
live,
get it,
they can.
That run spaces or are involved in this app. There needs to be more. And they need to talk about this specifically, because right now the crypto bros are not helping us because they don't believe in the concept of tariffs. They just don't.
A little bit, but
it's just not their thing.
Good, so
you see. And the last thing I'll say, guys, because I do got to go to work here. I got a meeting at 10:30. I got to get to with a customer.
Well,
Think
I'm
about
sorry.
this.
I get up every morning.
I do
When I
appreciate Elon
was
Musk and
sick
Doge.
last week,
I
because
do appreciate the guy did put his
Sunday
neck
after
and
our
his money
show,
on the line
I kind
in
of
the
had a
fall.
little bit of a headache behind my
But for all
eyes.
the Elon
When I look
fanboys and
that way or that
fangirls,
way,
and it tends
I
to be
had
people who
pressure.
were like Tommy
But
Lahren, I heard her over the weekend.
I was hoping it would
Uh,
go away. That it was probably just my
it tends to be
sinuses because I
people who
get a little
make their
hurt on my
money
phone
on this
every
app,
day. High pollen tree,
right?
high
Who
pollen
are
weed,
defending Elon
high,
Musk,
high,
because a
high,
lot of
high
those
all the
people
time.
had their accounts banned under
So,
Jack
and then it
Dorsey,
tells me I'm
and they
supposed to
got them
shower every
restored
time I come
under
in the house, and I'm like, ugh,
Musk,
who can
and
take
they
5 6 showers a day?
they count this
I
as
can't
income.
afford it.
So they're going to suck up to Elon Musk as much as possible.
I
It's
can't.
really quite disgusting, to be honest with you. Just such a low quality human being characteristic to have.
Well,
Anyway,
mine's supposed to do just to get the pollen off.
I'm starting to be in the camp, not because I'm a Trump shill, but I'm starting to think that Elon Musk was full of shit about $1 trillion in cuts. That I think he overpromised and underdelivered. And I do think that Doge was necessary and it needs to keep going. But that was what the altercation started off with.
That's terrible that he can't smell.
Scott Bessent called him a fraud, and said, "You promised the president $1 trillion in cuts.
Well, you know why he
You and
does
these
that?
nerds have been
Just like
fiddly
Bob.
fucking around
You have to put 10
for
times his
4 months, and
prices
you've
in there
barely
to get
gotten
no
to 100
taste.
billion, even with all the
Bob can't
layoffs."
smell anything,
That's
so
that is the word on the
can't tell if
street
I'm
as to
wearing
how the
perfume or
altercation started.
I farted
And
or
Elon
he doesn't
Musk
have a clue.
physically went after Scott Bessent. By the way, the Secretary of the Treasury
No,
is
all
6th
just
in line to the
yeah,
president. So if
sad.
Trump
So
is
bad.
out of the picture,
But when you won't
if
even ask
JD
the
Vance is out
doctor,
of
is
the
there
picture,
anything
if
I
Mike
can
Johnson is
try
out of the
and get
picture,
my
if John Thune is
smell
out of the
back?
picture, then it goes to the cabinet. Marco Rubio gets the first crack, then Scott Bessent. So this guy is more powerful than Elon Musk in terms of government.
Yes. 30 jobs like the guy.
All right. And by the way,
Mike
Scott
Rowe.
Bessent himself is a billionaire.
Mike Rowe.
So he's not exactly broke. He knows a thing or two about making money.
Do what?
But my point in telling you is, I think that's the situation.
From Texas.
I am a fan of Doge. I have lost respect for Elon Musk, but I respect what he was trying to do. He should not have he should not have said to President Trump that he could find $1 trillion in cuts. He should not have said that. Because I think what he encountered is what Trump encountered in 2017, and that is that the swamp is a formidable enemy, and that bitch bites back. And Trump found it out in 2017. We all thought he was going to go there and say, "You're fired. You're fired," like The Apprentice, and clean house and drain the swamp. And what happened to the poor guy?
Sure that they can
impeachments, Russia collusion hoax, the FBI up his ass, and then the pandemic.
The house and everything within it belongs to Tammy. If you don't like
Musk
my choice,
could not adapt
then you're out of the
to
trust.
the swamp. He wanted everything to be like a
So I thought
board meeting with Tesla or a board meeting at SpaceX, and just
so Tammy's just been going through closets.
Find a solution instantaneously via efficiency.
Find stuff
and fire who we wanted and cut money where we wanted, and I respect that. But unfortunately for us, that model doesn't work in our corrupt government.
The one back room where Bob.
And so that's where I'm at. I think that it comes off Friends is looking so bad.
Water leaking, so they do.
I mean, forget the fact that what 50-year-old man
got a leak in the foundation. It sounds
tries to put his hands on a 62-year-old man who's the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, whose name is on every bill that's printed out right now. Okay, that's power. Okay, you don't do that.
The other end of that.
I'm really surprised the Secret Service didn't break it up. If this is what happened, and that led to Elon's black eye, I don't believe that his autistic son elbowed him. Guys, I've had toddlers, and my son's a pretty big kid. He always has been. I've been elbowed in the face by him. When I was trying to get him dressed once when he was like 3, pretty freaking hard. I didn't get a black eye. And my kid was a lot bigger than X was at that age, taller and just more built. So
John, a guy from our church who
I never had a scrawny son.
he's willing to come over with his
I'm just saying, I don't believe that that's from a toddler.
cut it loose and opened it up.
So
Sealed the valve.
you read into that what you want, and I will read into it what I want.
We know that's what the problem
So
is. Well, Sunday,
that's about all I want to leave you with today, guys. That was a big download for today, a lot of information. But
I found
again, this coupled with the fact that Elon Musk is trashing the big beautiful bill, and lo and behold,
it's so old.
Unfortunately, it's taking LA to burn to the ground.
The bill and to a guy at the bowling alley.
For these people to wake up and realize that, you know, if that big beautiful bill passes, there's going to be a lot more LAs. LA, what's happening now is going to come to New York, and it's going to come to San Francisco. It's going to come to Seattle if it's not already. It's going to come to every major Democrat-run city in this country. And guess what? Because Rand Paul wants to vote no on behalf of adding to the debt that's going to burden grandchildren I don't have yet.
You remember where the guy that worked at Waffle House?
If that bill sinks, we're right back to square one with so many things, guys. The tax cut, we're going to go back to paying the taxes we paid under Obama. Okay? Corporate tax rate's going to go up to 35% again. That's going to stop the economy. Trust me, guys. You want to talk about stagflation? Getting rid of that tax cut right there.
Taco John's? No.
We're going to lose hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue.
You don't remember the name of the
all
place?
You Maha people out there,
No. Oh, it's all right. I'll look up
funding to get dyes out of our food, that comes to a standstill. All the funding for that. Doug Burgum, all his funding to drill Alaska
you guys moved away.
and unleash our own natural resources and drilling and mining, all that stops. The Golden Dome,
now for sale.
for those of you Star Wars kids out there.
That's horrible. I know, but oh well, that's what happens. And I was hoping for that. Huh?
So
they voted
to big time, guys. I don't want the continuity of this space to get messed up anymore. But I got to drop. You guys have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed
He doesn't
this.
want a hot.
Send me the juicy spaces. I'll listen to them at work. Okay. Have a good one.
Hot Springs.
Thank you. Thanks to all the speakers.
He got with the other casino in Oklahoma and used money to put ads out about how bad it will ruin Russellville with prostitution and drugs. It's going to ruin our city, blah, 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 blah. So, you need to give you the choice to vote instead of being forced to have something against your will, blah, blah, blah. They try to make it like that. And then they worded it so if you vote yes, then that means you will have the opportunity, but they didn't. They fixed it to where it looked like if you vote yes, you're voting for it, but you're really voting against it. See what I mean?
Yes.
So Jim Knight won again. He's won every single time because he's got enough people and religious people that believe everything he says, even though I don't know why people that go to church seem to never research people and find out this guy's a scumbag and he's using your fact that you're a religious person against you and making you look like a dumbass, basically. And Jesus did that. That's why he toppled over all the tables and stuff out in front of the synagogue, was because there was bunches of criminals out there, basically, selling the people downriver. But apparently people don't learn. So, well. So I just don't, and the parking lots, like at the city malls, are just collapsing. They're full of holes. You can park cars in them. It looks like D-Queen. That's what it looks like to me. It's looking worse and worse. Yeah, it is horrible, but next time you get a chance, you can come down there and drive around. Now, they've tried to fix Main Street up, and they started that whole thing because of the totality thing. But they screwed themselves out of that because I had people from Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina that were going to come and try to have a meet and greet to meet me and stuff because we were in line of the totality, right? But they got online and they said, "Holy shit, girlfriend! They're charging like $600 a night for a room in Russellville, Arkansas, in a dump, just so they could see the eclipse." So basically, I said, well, go to the next town over. It was Clarksville. I was telling them other towns to go to. I was like, that's bullshit. So I've been saying that the last two mayors that we've had in Russellville suck, but I can't vote for a mayor. You know what I mean? I'm not allowed to vote for mayor because I'm outside the city limits, but I get screwed every time, they make decisions. So, I don't know. It's ridiculous.
We're not outside of city limits. When I lived there, we were pushed in when they put the water lines in.
No, we can't vote. We have no say. We cannot vote for city council. That means you're outside city limits. We cannot vote.
How is that? We were not outside city limits.
Well, apparently we are now. I don't remember ever. We've never been able to vote for city. We can vote for Pope County, but we cannot vote for anything in the school. Like we can't vote yes or no against Russellville School District unless it has to pertaining to Pope County. Stuff like that. There's stipulations, and if it's just in the city limits, like if they want to have a 1 cent tax increase or whatever to add something to the city, like what they're doing right now to the sidewalks and stuff to make the street look nicer in Russellville, then
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But the thing is that people don't research. They just see something, I see a headline, and they think that's what it is. It's the headline, that's all it is. When it isn't. Most of the time the headline is to get you to either click on it or to swipe past it because they don't want you to know about it. So people don't know. They're uninformed. So
That's all people are these days. They say a bunch of crap in the commercial, and then you click on it, and then it takes you to some bull crap, something else.
First off, let me convey to my family, friends, and supporters that now is not the time to gloat. We must remember that most of our left-leaning friends are good people who want the same things in life as we do, but simply think differently on how to get there. It is now time to be the bigger man, to extend an olive branch and unite all reasonable people of this great nation. God has blessed America, and together with President Trump, we will make America great again.